The Choppy Cut. Inspired by a conversation with Mel, a yoga teacher, therapist, and Bude local. Lottie's new client stood outside the salon for 5 minutes, seemingly talking to herself, until she turned sideways and a little white AirPod could be seen nestled in her ear. So, despite the dry robe uniform, Lottie knew the client hadn't been in Bude long. How could you stop to say hello and exchange pleasantries with everyone you passed when you had headphones in? Once the client had stepped inside the salon, looking cautiously about as she rid herself of the almighty mass of coat, she unclipped pink grips from the front of her hair, freeing what had once been a stylised fringe. Lottie smiled sympathetically at her, knowing the fringe would have to be grown out. She gestured to the client to come her way and asked, "How's the sound quality on those ear things?" Lottie encased the client in a silky soft sea green hairdressing straitjacket and sat her down on the vintage-looking swivel chair that had been purchased for the salon's refurbishment the year before. Ella, the owner, had opted for a rustic look, adding a twist of sea green to the fixtures and fittings, explaining that she'd wanted the aesthetic to align with the mighty Atlantic Ocean. Lottie had wanted to inform Ella that as the town had been built on sand, not sea, a warm golden brown might have been a more appropriate choice. However, Lottie was wise enough to know when to keep quiet.
The sound's okay, I guess. But, the reception here has been a nightmare for the last month. Is it like that for you too?
Lottie nodded, knowing all too well about the joys of the congested mobile networks in the summer. "So, what are we doing today?" The client tried to raise her hands to pull her hair out of the ponytail it was encased in, but couldn't due to the straitjacket cocoon. Lottie eased the hair bobble out of the client's locks, revealing a mass of shoulder-length hair in what must once have been a sleek and sharp bob, but now resembled a frizzy triangle.
When I first moved here 6 months back, my hair loved the soft water, but I just find it so difficult to style. I straighten it every morning, but I don't know why I bother. The wind here, it's relentless. And I spoke to my old stylist back in town, but their recommendations on hair maintenance has not helped. I leave the house with my hair down, looking neat, and within seconds of walking to my car, I look awful. I'm using my 3-year-old's hair clip to try and look presentable, but it's not working. It's not just the wind that's the problem, it's the rain. You can't even call it rain, it's...
"Mizzle," said Lottie. "Killer of hairstyles and bringer of frizz." This was a regular occurrence in the chair. Bude is tempestuous. There is no barrier between it and the Atlantic Ocean. It gets hit by the raw elements of every season. When the sun shines, it's glorious and burningly bright. When the rain arrives, it's relentless and from all angles. And when the blue sky is hidden by grey clouds for week upon week in the winter months, it's bleak. It makes everyone in the town down. There is no shelter from the wildness of the wind. Lottie believes that as the town is built on shifting sand, it affects the balance of its inhabitants. She'd noticed the wind stirred up moods and grievances which would disappear on a calm day, or when the sky was so bright blue that it dazzled any lingering trouble away. But just for a day, only ever for a day. Lottie feels that resilience is key to living in this most northerly of Cornish towns. You have to be able to weather a storm and give allowances to those having equally tumultuous internal weather situations.
Yes, but it mizzles all the time,
Lottie uttered.
Then what hairstyle can I have that will work in this town?
I suggest a choppy cut to allow movement and flow. We'll have to feather your fringe, let it grow out a little. The client visibly swallowed, but nodded. Within an hour after shampooing and conditioning and carefully, artfully snipping sections of hair, Lottie used the black mirror to show the client the back of her head. Freshly coiffured, a little bit on the wild side, it would weather the wind well.
I actually like it.
The client sounded incredulous.
It's actually got some shape. It's really rather good.
Lottie smiled. There was a reason she was fully booked. A reason why old customers always came back and new customers were given her name to have haircuts they didn't realise they needed to assimilate into the town. The truth, which no one quite realised, was that Lottie quietly gave everyone the same cut. She just made sure it worked for their particular hair type, length and face shape so that it didn't look the same. But it definitely was. Not that she would ever share this, of course. Unlike the howling winds around Bude, Lottie knew when to keep quiet.
This podcast was written and recorded as part of O Region's From the Horse's Mouth project. For more information about this and other O Region work, visit o-region.co.uk.